Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC 290 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place July 8, 2023, International Fight Week, Volkanovski versus Rodríguez. Absolute stacked card. Let's jump right into it right off the bat. In the first fight on the main card, we have Bo Nickal taking on Gore. 4-0 for Bo Nickal, 5-2 for Gore. The obvious thing right here is, what is Nickal going to be able to do in that first round? Get the submission, get the KO TKO. How is his hands improving? We've seen Gore lose before. 2 losses inside the UFC, against Brian Battle and then against Cody Brundage. A little concerning for me, just because I think Gore is going to really have a very small window to do something here, whether that's pull off a defensive submission or get the hands going early on and be able to just kind of land something clean. At the same time, though, I could see Nickal landing something on him. I think a lot of people are counting out Nickal's hands, not taking into consideration the fact that he could possibly drastically be improving his hands and then take Gore out maybe like that. But still, he has many ways to win, in my opinion. And Nickal, when he gets that grappling going, when he gets the wrestling going, it's all over. Like, it's just not something you want to deal with. The control, you're not really going to get back up. We've seen that even though he's only had 4 fights, right? So for me, Gore, he's going to have to get lucky. Like, he's going to have to get Bo Nickal to make a really big mistake and get him out of there. Force him into doing something Nickal doesn't want to do. But again, he's gonna have to stop like the initial 2 takedowns. He's gonna have to do a lot more, because once Nickal gets him down, I think it's all over. So I'm not gonna think about it too much here. For me, I'm gonna go with Bo Nickal to defeat Gore. I'll take him to win by round 1 submission. In the second fight on the main card, we have Jalin Turner, 14-6, taking on Dan Hooker, 22-12. Jalin Turner, not the veteran inside of the UFC, coming off of Dana White's Contender Series, getting to where he is now. And you have Dan Hooker, who's obviously been in the UFC for a long time, 2014, and then he's fought top level guys. And it just seems like every time he ends up fighting that top level guy, though, unfortunately, he loses the opportunity, right? Arnold Allen, Islam Makhachev, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, Edson Barbosa. So he is still somebody you don't want to mess with, like Dan Hooker. But they are both going to be similar in size. So I think Dan Hooker, he's not going to have that advantage here. We see him throw those front kicks a lot. Really good jab. He can beat up people. Like, Dan Hooker's no slouch. He can also pull off some submissions. I think if Jalin Turner is able to start teeing off on Hooker, because I feel like Turner's going to be the more aggressive striker. He's going to put together a little bit better combinations. He's going to have the power, because he's not just a small, skinny, scrawny dude. Like, this dude's pretty powerful. He can generate a lot of power in close and from a distance, and he can tee off on you. And so Turner's probably going to bring that aggression. So if Hooker, he's getting tagged on the feet, I would expect Hooker to initiate the grappling. But at the same time, we've seen Jalin Turner be able to pull off submissions of his own. So, I know against Matsu's Gamrot, he did get taken down 4 times. But, man, when they were on the feet, like, he's piecing up Gamrot. Like, he dropped him 1 time. Unfortunately, he just wasn't able to deal with, like, the raw wrestling of Gamrot. But I don't see Hooker, just flat out wrestling him. I feel like it's going to be up against the fence, and there could be moments where Turner's able to turn that around. So I would say it's going to be a pretty competitive bout. But again, regardless, I feel like the fight is going to end on the feet. I think Turner's going to want to get that one back. He's really going to want to go after Dan Hooker. It's a good win to have if he's able to get it. And I just feel like Jalin Turner is going to just be the far better aggressive striker, the powerful striker, and he's going to look for that kill. So maybe it doesn't come in the first round. They're filling each other out, maybe getting a little bit of those exchanges, grappling up against the fence. And then in that second round, I think we see Jalin Turner take over, put it together, and get the finish. So I'm going to go Jalin Turner to defeat Dan Hooker. I'll take him to win by round 2, KO TKO. In the third fight on the main card, we have Whittaker, 25-6, taking on Dricus du Plessis, 19-2. This is an interesting fight because it's like, on paper, just from what I know, without even researching anything, it's like Robert Whittaker, far well-rounded fighters. He's fought the top level guys. He's been able to take a lot of people down, right? He's only lost to Israel Adesanya. He beat Jared Cannonier, and we see what Cannonier did in his last fight. Took out Kelvin Gastelum, took out Marvin Vettori. We've seen how tough Vettori is. Lost to Israel Adesanya in their last matchup, though. He was able to get 4 takedowns. Adesanya did drop him, though, in that fight. I mean, obviously got finished in the first fight. Yoel Romero, Jacare Souza, like this dude's fought everyone, right? At this point, he's always just in that top level tier of fighters inside of the UFC. Robert Whittaker, very technical. He sets the traps to land those high kicks. He kind of darts in, keeps his hands a little bit low, throws out a really good jab. He's mixing in a lot of combinations. He'll definitely go for the head kicks, sets it up beautifully, mixes in his own wrestling if he really needs to go there. Very patient too. Sometimes a little too patient. Maybe that's like a downside for him. Robert Whittaker, maybe get a little bit more aggressive. If he can get that finish, he can go for more stuff. Maybe he would be winning these fights. Not necessarily just by decision, but actually getting the finish. It's interesting because Dricus duplexes, in his last fight against Derek Brunson, I don't want to say he's getting lucky, but it's almost like, I don't think he's fought Robert Whittaker. Now, that being said, obviously, if Plessis lands one big shot on him, it could be all over. But just the way Plessis, he starts to gas out a little bit. You make him work just a little bit, and then, that second round comes around, and he's just kind of gassed out already. So it's not, that's a little sketchy for me to just get behind and be like, yo, this guy's going to take him out. I think Whittaker, destroyed Derek Brunson, and he wasn't gassed out. He beat up Darren Till. Yeah. He took down Darren Till. I don't think this is one of those fights where Whittaker's just going to accept getting taken down, right? He's going to, even if duplexes is trying to take him down, Whittaker's going to make him work for it. He's always going to be popping out a lot of volume, just throwing strikes, going for the head kicks. And even against Marvin Vettori, like we saw Whittaker beat him up. You saw it on his face, right? Like he's beating this dude up, and I just don't see it. Unless Whittaker just looks absolutely horrible and looks like he shouldn't be in there anymore. I just don't see how he doesn't eventually pull away from duplexes and kind of just start landing better shots on him, head kicks him, right? Takes him out, finishes him. Whittaker, from what I'm seeing, is just a better fighter. And Whittaker, if he has the opportunity, needs to really go after this one and get the finish, put him away, get him out of there, and move on to the next thing. So for me, I'm going to go, especially because Adesanya really wants to fight duplexes. But again, like Whittaker is just the better fighter, like without a doubt. Duplexes, if this dude starts gassing out, Whittaker's just going to eat him alive, piece the shit up. He's going to beat him up and like head kick him in the head and put him down. So I'm going to go Robert Whittaker. Again, it is a fight. Who knows what's going to happen. But I'm going to go Robert Whittaker to defeat Dricus duplexes. We'll take him to win by round 2, KO/TKO. In the co-main event of the evening, we have Brandon Moreno, 21-6-2, taking on Alexandre Pantoja, 25-5, in a flyweight title bout. So Brandon Moreno coming in this one, he's fought the same guy 4 times, I think, in the past 5 fights. So I'm sure he's happy to just have somebody else besides Deiveson Figueiredo to fight, right? I think he's just happy at this point to just fight someone else. He did beat Kai Kara-France, but still fighting the same guy 4 times in the past 5 fights probably gets a little bit like, all right, like what else is there to do here? So Brandon Moreno's coming off that win against Deiveson Figueiredo. Was able to get 3 takedowns in that fight, outpieced him on the feet, and got the KO/TKO round number 3. Kind of blew up his eye. People were saying like, oh, it was an eye poke, but if you watch it, like he actually hit him in his eye, and it wasn't an eye poke, like it was a legal strike. So Brandon Moreno just looked a lot better in that fight against Kai Kara-France. Kicked him, put him down. That was a close fight up until that point. Like I think Moreno was landing better shots, but still it was competitive. But then he kicked him it was like a liver kick, and he just put him down. Before that, he lost to Deiveson Figueiredo decision. Still outlanded him in that fight. It was just because Deiveson Figueiredo dropped him 3 times and got 2 takedowns. And then, he's just on this, he's just fighting Deiveson Figueiredo. Brandon Royval, Josiah Formiga. He beat Kai Kara France the first time via decision. He's another one of these guys in this division who's just fought everyone pretty much. And then you have Alexandre Pantoja, who is just kind of at this point like a wild card. Like he just goes for, like, at any moment this guy could just pull off a submission. He's wild. He's gonna bring the fight to you. Both these guys, when they get into the exchanges, like the grappling exchanges, is gonna be insane. I mean, it's gonna be very fast twitch. Like either guy makes a mistake, next thing you know, Pantoja's choking him out, Moreno's reversing. It's gonna be one of those situations where there's gonna be absolute chaos. And that's why I think the line is pretty close in this one, because Moreno might be the better he might be the better fighter overall over the course of like a 5-round fight. Pantoja might start to slow down. Maybe he can't pull off these submissions. He can't get Moreno in these bad spots. And then Moreno's able to kind of piece him up on the feet, keep him at bay. And he's been in the title fight. I know he's fought like the same guy, but like Moreno's smart too, right? So he can create that chaos as well. So that's why I think it's like a really close fight. It's a really great fight. But I think as the fight goes on, Moreno, unless he's getting his ass beat, like he's gonna slowly take over the fight. He just has to they just can't, as much as we want to see the grappling exchanges, if Moreno wants to win, he's gonna have to keep that not happening too frequently, just because Pantoja is gonna take those opportunities to create the chaos, whether it's just going there, chin down, just throwing hooks, and then trying to go in for a takedown or a scramble, pulling for a heel hook. Like, who knows what this guy's going to do? Like, he's just going to go in there and try to create some chaos. And then Moreno, I'm sure he'll have moments too where he can get dropped. So, like, this could be one of those situations where Pantoja runs at him, drops him, Moreno pops back up, drops him. Like, it could get crazy, and then Moreno takes his back. Like, it could be one of those fights. Or we could see, like, a 5-round war where both guys are just going back and forth on the feet, and then just trying to go for submissions and then reversing. Like, I think it's a really entertaining fight, and it's kind of scary because at any moment either one of these guys could pull off the victory, and Pantoja could pull off the victory here, like, no doubt about it. Moreno gets dropped early on and Pantoja takes his back. I mean, we see him do that before. Like, he's gonna do it really quickly, and then he's gonna get the rear naked choke, the neck crank, like I said, Pantoja, against Alex Perez, just the way he took his back, just fast, came at him. So Moreno's got to be prepared for a lot of that. And I think if anyone's gonna be the underdog here and win a fight, I feel like it could be Pantoja in this one. So it's sketchy. It's sketchy because I can also see him slowing down and then Moreno taking over and just having that experience in a 5-round fight, and then slowly win the fight. Just be the better fighter. But Pantoja's definitely going to come after him and try to rip his head off. And so, yeah, this is a fight of the night for me. I think this is going to be a wild fight. Looking forward to this one as well. So, but, I've been going back and forth on this one. Do you take Moreno? Do you take Pantoja? It's scary. But I think I'm going to go with Moreno just because Pantoja could get lucky. He could just overwhelm Moreno early on or put him in a bad spot. But I feel like the champion, Brandon Moreno, he's going to fight smart. He's going to keep a good defense. He can also threaten with his own craziness too. Don't count him out. And if he can take the fight into that 5th round, make it a war. They might be going back and forth, but I feel like Moreno's going to just land the heavier shots, be a little bit more technical, be a little bit more safe, be a little bit more patient, and kind of just overall win the fight. But the reason I say decision is just because I think it's going to be a war at the same time. So I'm going to go Brandon Moreno to defeat Alexandre Pantoja. I'll take him to win by decision. In the main event of the evening, we have Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight champion, fighting Yair Rodríguez, the interim featherweight champion, for the featherweight title bout. 25-2 for Volkanovski, 63-1 no contest for Rodríguez. This is just one of those fights where it's like, okay, obviously Yair Rodríguez looked really good against Josh Emmett. He was kind of getting tagged up there, but he got the submission victory, was landing some nasty body kicks, nasty kicks. His range, the control that he's able to keep the fight at, where he's able to throw these kicks, have a lot of movement. He can also hurt his opponents with his hands as well. Just all around, spinning elbow. We saw him take out the Korean Zombie that way. 1 second left in the fight, spinning elbow. Like, he can do these crazy things. But the problem I have with that is just the Brian Ortega fight, that was due to an injury. We didn't really get to see that one play out. He loses to Max Holloway. Max Holloway was able to just, Max Holloway did his Max Holloway thing. And Max Holloway even got 3 takedowns in that fight. He defeated Jeremy Stevens, unanimous decision. Then before, I think it was like the eye poke or something like that. So they had to redo it. Chang Sung that 1 second KO in the last round, and he got the KO. He lost to Frankie Edgar, and that's the one that always sketches everyone out. Is just because, and I understand that was in 2017, but Frankie Edgar just absolutely destroyed him in that fight, took him down, beat him up. So I like what we saw from Yair in this last fight. He is very dangerous. Don't get me wrong, but when you look at a guy like Alexander Volkanovski, who's coming off of a loss against the lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, in which he kept that fight very competitive, and Alexander Volkanovski even is accredited one knockdown in that fight against Makhachev. 70 significant strikes to Makhachev's 57. Again, the judges, and I just think overall they weighed the takedowns more in that fight. He got 4 takedowns. But when you look at it, he defended 5 of them, right? So Volkanovski is just overall a really great fighter. Like, this is a guy who, he's fighting everyone at this point, right? He's absolutely destroyed Max Holloway. He's fought Max Holloway 3 times, okay? So I understand that, like, unfortunately, like, people don't like to do the MMA math and all that stuff. But Volkanovski has absolutely crushed Holloway 3 times. And we've seen what Holloway has been able to do to pretty much everyone outside of Volkanovski. It's hard for me to just sit here and just ignore that. Like, and to see that Rodríguez lost to Holloway, and it was like, I don't want to say a beating, but like, Holloway was, Yair landed his shots, but it's like overall Holloway was killing him. So, and then for Volkanovski to keep a fight against a guy who is pretty much undefeated inside the UFC, outside of losing to Adriano Martins back in 2015. Arguably, like, Makhachev is like one of the only dudes who's even made that fight against. Volkanovski is only one of these dudes that's made the Makhachev feel like competitive, right? So it's like, Jesus, it just, I cannot go with a guy in Yair hoping that he hits something crazy or he throws up a submission, because Volkanovski doesn't make too many mistakes. And even when you look at Volkanovski, when he did get put in a position where he was basically going to get submitted, he ends up getting out of it. So it's just insane to see what he's done, against Brian Ortega. And he just keeps beating these guys up, man. Like, and making it look fairly easy. And I would like to see him fight Islam Makhachev a little bit down the road, see what he can make the improvements. Because, that's really the only guy who's made that fight competitive. So, yeah, I understand Volkanovski can't overlook Rodríguez. Rodríguez, at the end of the day, could pull off some crazy highlight reel knockout or submission. But Volkanovski on the feet is a problem. He just utilizes I guess, his length, but also his, he's a smaller guy, but he just finds his way on the inside and he's piecing you up, and he can also hit you from a distance. And then if he needs to go to the wrestling, he can do that. You know, he can control his opponents, and then he can land some pretty hard ground and pound there, and he can put up the volume. It's just one of these guys, man, where overall he's one hell of a fighter. And Yair's he's going to have to be perfect in order to beat Volkanovski here. I just don't see that happening. Does Yair Rodríguez survive? It's a tough one. I think if he can survive against Max Holloway, you know, I think he might be able to survive here against against Alexander Volkanovski, but I don't know if he's going to completely at the end of the 5th round not be destroyed. So yeah, I'm gonna go Alexander Volkanovski on this one to defeat Yair Rodríguez. I'll take him to win by a pretty dominant decision. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC 290 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place next week, July 8, 2023, International Fight Week. One hell of a card. Looking forward to all of it. Leave your comments down below. Who you got? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.